I want to just pose one question and then we'll just open it up. But, part of me just says, wow, why isn't every school across this country, doing this kind of work within these environments? Obviously, they have to do it in concert with external organizations like your own. There's outside interventions. I mean, whoever's working on these are because you've created this in your university setting. So we know it takes some kinds of those links, but I'm kind of just curious some of your thoughts of why, this is an amazing spectrum of these kinds of things that are going on, and I'm sure we'll probably hear some other ones too. But why don't we see this, across the board?
We communicate a lot with teachers because they come to our museum all the time and we go and see them. And what we continually hear from teachers is not only do they not have the resources or the time, but also many of them just don't feel as comfortable with the sciences, especially when we're talking about primary education. So one thing that we're trying to do to empower these teachers is we're going to start doing some teacher outreach so that we can give them the tools. And obviously it'd be nice if every school had a sun curve mounted on the side of their school, but that's probably not going to happen. But give them the tools for inexpensive things that they can take away with and do with their students. So that's something that we're continually trying to work on and find our best fit and how we can best serve the schools in the Bay Area.
I would say my mother's a teacher, and so I grew up with the public school system, and one of the things that I think is it's tragic the way we've cut back on the funding sources, and teachers are stretched to the limit. They don't have time to innovate, and they have to buy their own pens and pads, etc. I think it's shameful. One of the things that I think that the internet does provide, though, is that there are a lot of resources out there if we can get the word out, and then we can share things like the sun curve. And so with an internet type of connection, and especially if we can build in some simple robotic tools, then kids could come in and share one of them rather than having to reproduce it all the time, because obviously the maintenance is enormous for something like that. You need to have a full-time person, and very few school districts can afford that. But can we share these kind of resources? And one of the things I'm really interested in is how do we get the word out? For example, we just launched this. We're putting, there's some press interest, et cetera, but how could we get the word out to schools and students and teachers? And I don't have an answer for that.
Sam, did you want to add?
The number one thing we hear is time for faculty, and then secondly, for undergraduate faculty, is the reward structure. It doesn't fit their research agenda. The scholarship of teaching and learning is somewhat less valued in many institutions. But I think there are other sociological barriers, to taking risks and trying new things. And this notion of having to teach all of the facts leading up to the ability to do some research. So how much background would you need to do a research project with your bird camera? Almost none, right? You could start to ask research questions and refine them over time, and we have to get teachers, and I respect teachers for everything that they do and all the challenges that they face, but they're going to have to operate on the fly and help students see opportunities to try things out, and they themselves are going to have to try things out, and that's the only way we're going to make progress.